Welcome to the WAN show, guys. You know, it's funny because I actually received a complaint from one of our sponsors earlier this week. Well, it's not so much that I received a complaint as they received a complaint. It was a major sponsor of ours. So one of our long-term relationships that we've had for a long time. That's how long-term relationships work. They last a long time. I mean, unless it's, there's no good place this can go. So it's a long-term sponsor, and what happened was they actually received a complaint about the obscene content of a Friday stream that was sponsored by said sponsor. So I freaked out. I'm like, oh man, I'm not always the most politically correct guy in the world. I think we can all agree on this. Slenderman definitely knows that I'm not always the most appropriate boss, when it comes to touching and words that I say. But I was like, okay, well, it must have been something particularly horrible if someone's complaining about it.
That sounded really bad.
What?
Sometimes I'm not an appropriate boss when it comes to touching and words that I say.
Well, poopsicle.
Okay.
That's what I meant. So... yeah. Basically, I'm freaking out. I'm running around trying to download the archive. Twitch isn't working. I can barely load a page on the site, and I just want to watch the archive, and I go, oh, no, hold on, YouTube. So I go on the YouTube one, I'm like, oh, this doesn't look that bad, and then I go, after party. Maybe something happened on the after party. And so I'm like trying to get on Twitch again. I'm like, I can't see this show. I don't want to admit to guilt before I figure out if I did something wrong. So at the end of it all, get this. I'm like still running around. I get this email. Thank goodness for the Pebble, because I knew about the email immediately. And it's like, oh, upon getting further clarification, it was actually one of the participants in the chat of your show that said something obscene. And I was just kind of sitting there going, I was like, really? Really? The obscene content of my show is someone in Twitch chat?
I don't think the public internet has a proper ESRB rating.
I really don't think it does.
Come on, guys.
So that was where my upset ended. That was where my stress ended. Hashtag make bombs. Thank you for whoever's in the Twitch chat doing that. Speaking of Twitch chat being inappropriate. So I was just, they were like, oh, well, do you think you could, get moderators? I'm like, yeah, we're on it. Okay, we got this. We got this under control. We are going to add so many moderators that you're not going to be able... We're going to moderate while we moderate in our sleep.
What would happen if we made every... Can moderators time out other moderators?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay, so I was going to say if we made every single person a moderator.
Yeah, that creates more problems than it solves.
I know.
So we've got a great show for you today, guys. We've got a number of topics. Number one is the Titan Z, or Titan Z if you prefer, from NVIDIA has allegedly been postponed. And by allegedly, I mean it was supposed to launch 3 days ago, and it's not here.
So, yeah.
The word on the street is actually, well, you'll have to wait for the word on the street. Why don't you just watch the show for a change? You know how many people tune in for the intro and then leave? I've been watching the Twitch numbers.
Really?
They're just like, what do Linus and Luke think? No, I'm totally messing with you.
I'm pretty sure it goes up.
Nobody does that.
You're pretty sure it goes up, for a while.
People watch the show to stare at your hunky good looks, not because they want to watch the intro and then leave.
That's cute.
Also, Google is rumored to be launching the Android Silver program, and we've got a few details of what that would be, but it sounds like some kind of a mishmash of the Nexus program and Google Play Edition phones and the love child that exists from that sort of pairing. And actually, people were freaking out initially when rumors started to swirl about Nexus phones going away, but in my mind, this could be a very good thing. More on that later.
We have China building an esports stadium.
I love saying more on that later. Because it's like, it implies that whatever we say about it will be stupid. More on that later! Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, man. And Nissan is developing a paint that will resist both water and oil. More on that later.
That's a smart idea.
But I'm just...
That's not stupid. You're not even doing it right.
I'm going to play the intro. So...
couple of sponsors here for you guys. Hotspot Shield is the fast, easy, inexpensive way to set yourself up with a VPN. You can save 20% off an elite membership by using offer code Linus. And ASUS Republic of Gamers gaming notebooks. We've actually recently done a fair bit of talking about the G750 on the show, and we're going to keep doing that today because we are both powered by the ASUS G750JZ.
I still need nutrition to some point, and he's talking about a wrapper. So
Nutrition?
yeah, you said we're both powered by it, but we're not. We're more powered by like stuff that we eat and drink, not necessarily the laptop.
Oh, okay. Were you thinking of that all week?
No, actually. But I was thinking about Jay-Z the whole week.
Okay, well then put more effort into it. Next time, if you're going to say something stupid when I talk about the G750JZ, I want some premeditation.
So I will do this. I will plan out some sort of thing focused around Jay-Z for next week.
You're awful. All right, so let's move on to our first topic of the day. Nissan develops water repellent technology for their cars. Now, that's a bit of an oversimplification. It's not actually Nissan that developed this hydrophobic and oleophobic coating.
For clarification, hydrophobic is water repellent, and oleophobic is oil repellent.
Yes. So, but they have developed the idea of putting such a coating on a car, which to me
in
really
like paint form
isn't that big of a deal, but you know. Either way, this video is freaking cool. So we're going to go ahead and watch it together. And there's no sound, so I will be the narrator. Nissan, is this the world's first self-cleaning car? Driven by Batman. Look at us painting it. This is how paint works. Sometimes the paint has a hose that contains paint.
And then we decide to turn the light off.
Sometimes cars go on the road. This is a windshield. This is rain on the ground. It's like backwards rain. It starts on the ground, it goes up your car, and it contains sometimes mud.
Is backwards rain evaporation?
Repels water and spray.
Spray.
I was thinking of my shoulder, because it hurts. Everyday dirt, not just some days dirt. This is really impressive, though. Okay, so check this out. This final shot, if the video is to be believed, has not been doctored. So you can actually find, like, a couple little things on it. Like, there's a little thing here. Mm-hmm. See that? And then down here, this piece of plastic has actually clearly gone through the same treatment as the other piece of plastic. One thing to note is that this is a left side vehicle, so it means whenever they are like driving off the side of the road a little bit, it'll be on this side. So they did abuse the more...
And you can kind of tell in the plastic on the
Yeah, so you can tell in the plastic that they abused this side more to make their point, I think. But that doesn't change the fact that the hydrophobic, oleophobic coating, everywhere where it isn't applied, or everywhere where it's been applied, like on the paint here, on the windshield, is really, really impressive. I mean, look at that. We're just going to, let's freeze frame on that for a second. So you can see the way that the dirt and water just come right off of it. Now, it's not the first time we've seen this. When I saw Nissan's video, I went looking around for other ones, and I saw some really cool demos, like taking a concrete cinder block and coating one side of it and just like trying to make it wet. Taking a glove.
Yeah.
And just like taking the two gloves and then putting them down on like paper towel. And there's like one drop.
There's really cool stuff where if you get a really nice camera and you like coat someone's finger in it and then put it in the water, you can see like the layer around your finger where the water's not touching.
Huh.
It's really interesting. I'll try and find a video for you later. But some of my favorite ones is literally when someone just coats a shirt in it, wears the shirt, and then the other dude like sprays mustard or ketchup at him.
Right.
And then instead of going blah, it hits him and then just falls off. It's really, it like hurts the brain for the first few seconds.
So this was posted on the forum by Probe NJA, so huge shout out to you for doing that. And I think that's pretty much all there is to say about it. Nissan has said already that they have no plans to offer the paint as standard equipment, but will consider making it an option. You know what to me is kind of funny? What do you mean consider making it an option?
They have to talk like that.
I know.
Because, like, what if something happens? What if some patent comes out and then they're like, oh, there's no way this is going to work? Because they didn't, like you said at the beginning, they didn't invent this. This has existed. That's why there's videos,
Right.
like what we were just talking about, of people doing it. I can't remember the name, but there's a brand that sells it just in spray cans, and you can spray it on pretty much everything. So, yeah, if you want to do this to whatever, you do have to kind of worry, like, you don't want to eat this stuff. I'm not even going to bother read the label, but something that's going to repel liquids should probably not be ingested.
Right. Well, I mean, the whole thing with Scotchgard, like, you know why Scotchgard sucks now, right?
Because they had to nerf it, right?
Yeah, they had to completely change the formula. The original Scotchgard, like, my mom was under the impression that Scotchgard was amazing. So I went and, like, sprayed all of my ski equipment with it. And, like, the first day, I was like, yeah, I'm soaked. This stuff is crap, Mom. What on earth are you talking about? And she's like, no, it's great. It's great. It's great, Linus. You should put it on all your stuff. I'm like, okay. Disconnected.
Not working.
But then I actually looked into it, and the reason they had to change the formula was because in the town where they manufactured it all, the birth defect rate was like...
Right.
Yeah, so it was like a huge problem. So yeah, sure, there could be some kind of environmental concern, some kind of health concern that comes along with this type of a coating. But at the end of the day, if they are figuring out how to apply it to cars... I guess the thing that I hate seeing is artificial segmentation. Mm-hmm. Like, on our premium model, we'll offer this option to have this oleophobic coating. It's like, you know what? Why don't you just paint the other car with it? Please, just cover any car with it.
Yeah.
Because why not?
If you're buying it en masse, it's probably not going to cost that much in the end.
And you wonder why consumers are sick of your crap when you artificially segment your products that way. So I hope that Nissan, and anyone for that matter, develops this. The amount of water that gets wasted washing cars, the amount of soap and cleaning chemicals that go down storm drains, because not everyone is using environmentally friendly soaps when they clean their cars, at least here in North America, is pretty astounding. I actually noticed the culture seems a little bit, in the places in Europe that I've gone, the culture about car washing seems very different. So, for example, I spent my honeymoon on the Greek islands, and I don't think I saw a single car that had probably been washed in the last 2 months. Like, it just wasn't a thing.
Whereas around here, it's fairly rare to find a dirty car.
Yeah. And that was just, it was just a bit of an enlightening moment for me, and I was just.
But then on the polar opposite of that, in France, every single washroom you go into is going to be super pristine, and here, every single public washroom you go into is
grody.
Absolutely disgusting monstrosity. Another interesting thing is that previous models of iPhones, I'm not sure if the current ones do, but they have oleophobic coating on the screen. The BlackBerry Z10 could have probably used that.
Yeah, that screen was not very good. I remember the problem you had with it. With that said, you do have particularly gross hands.
Yes, that is true. But that phone was particularly bad at dealing with it.
Like I even like fist bumping him. No, sometimes I'm just like, yeah.
It's pretty bad.
All right, I'm not judging though.
I am.
You're gross. You beat me to the punch on that one. So this is right up your alley, this next story here.
Yeah.
The famous, fabled dumping ground for E.T. the video game has been found.
So despite this being reportedly one of the worst games that anyone who's ever played it has ever played, people want to find it so badly because it's been kind of hidden away, and it's really, 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 really hard to get your hands on. So what happened was they dumped it in some landfill in New Mexico and then never looked back and never...
Yeah, like they printed way too many copies of it. Atari did. Way too many copies. It was a total piece of garbage.
Terrible.
So they just dumped it.
Dumped it, forgot about it, it's in a landfill, don't worry about it. Ever since then, the internet has kind of gone insane. It's had its ups and downs with this story, but it's kind of gone insane. The Video Game Nerd, also known as the Cinemassacre Group, has been working on a video on it since I think 2007. There's a documentary going on right now, and the people working on the documentary actually dug up the site and actually have found, I've seen pictures of 2 or 3 of them now. They look pretty smashed, so I don't think any of them are actually going to work, but we'll see, who knows.
The last I heard, none of the ones they had unearthed worked yet.
Yeah, but then that being said, they might be able to remount chips.
Right.
And make it work that way. Like, maybe that cartridge doesn't work, but...
That feels like cheating to me.
It kind of is, but if you do want to get the game back, it might work in some form. If you want an original cartridge, though, I don't think they've unearthed one yet. The movie that Cinemassacre is making with Angry Video Game Nerd is going to be like a science fiction adventure based movie, so it's not really based around that much.
So kind of like
fact.
E.T. Will there be an alien?
I'm sure there's going to be an alien. I've seen parts of it. Shoot me, but it really doesn't look that good. So I don't know. We'll see. Someone will attack me for that. But yeah, that's honestly about it. It's interesting. I'm excited to see what comes with it. I'm excited for the first one to hit eBay.
Right.
That's what I'm excited to figure out what Atari decides to do about this, because they probably still technically own that land.
I don't think they've commented on any of this yet.
They have not.
So Atari is just kind of. But once someone starts making money off of this,
exactly,
I think the story changes a little bit. I mean, if you're Atari, you must be pretty desperate at this point.
Yeah, because like the Angry Video Game Nerd, his is science fiction adventure based thing, so I'm not too worried about that. He's making a story about
and that's just based on the buried games. It's not like he's not planning to sell the cartridges or anything like that.
Exactly.
But I imagine video game collectors would pay.
Oh yeah. And like, especially to get one from the dig.
Yeah, so like I think at the end of the day, they're gonna excavate these, and I suspect there's enough of them that something's got to work, unless they specifically smashed them before they put them down.
Right.
But I mean, so I think there'll be tiers, right? There'll be the ones that are in basically like pristine condition and work. There'll be the ones that look good but don't work, and there'll be broken ones.
There's that game rating system. Have you heard of it before?
No.
Yeah, you can ship in your unboxed game. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'm sure someone in the chat will bring it up. You can ship in your like new inbox game, and they'll rate how good condition it's in. So like any dents on the corners, any rips, anything like that, they'll put it in a shell casing and they'll stamp an official rating on it. So like if you get like a 95 rated NES game, you can sell it for incredible amounts of money. And it costs like $100 just to get the service done. So like if you get a high rating ET that's from the dig, it's gonna be worth tons. And then Atari might be like, we technically own those, so nope, our money. Or they could just say nope, they all go to us. I'm really interested to see what Atari does, or if they just do nothing. I guess we'll have to see.
They might just do nothing.
I wouldn't be super surprised if they did nothing, to be completely honest. Oh well, we'll see, I guess. Android Silver?
Yeah, let's move on to Android Silver. So this
Should
was
we do
posted...
a Twitter Blitz soon?
I'm sorry?
Should we do Twitter Blitz soon?
Sure, about what?
I don't know, we just haven't... I don't think we did a Twitter Blitz for the last 2 weeks.
Okay, why don't we just do a random one? Guys, hit us. At Linus Tech on Twitter. Let us know if you have anything fascinating to ask us or comment on, anything that we've talked about so far. We're going to do a Twitter Blitz in a little bit here. All right, so our next topic is Android Silver. It was posted originally on the Linus Tech Tips forum by Red Round 2, and then the source article was on Android Authority. So this is a report going around right now that the Nexus program, so, you know, the Nexus 5, the Nexus 7, you know, I really did wonder what they were going to do when they ran out of screen sizes to make it bigger. That would also correspond to increasingly big model numbers.
That didn't seem like the greatest plan from the get-go.
It's just discontinuous. Just
This
call
is
them
our
all
plan.
silver.
It's gone. Don't worry about it. We're not using the word one, at least. We came up with something else. Imagine they did that. That would be 3 different Android phones that would be called One.
Silver One.
If they at least had the next iteration be a Silver 2.
Silver 2.
And like from there on, I'd probably be okay with it.
When cell phones go down enough in price, can we have the silver dollar?
I don't think that'll happen.
How about the silver and sterling conflict?
What?
You don't follow sports, right?
Not much.
Oh, do you know what's going on right now?
With the coach that just got fired?
No, the Clippers owner.
Oh yeah. No,
yeah. So that's,
I follow it enough.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing right now.
That's all.
I don't know. I actually had a really interesting conversation with Iago and the NCIX Tech Tips crew when we were having lunch today, and they brought up some interesting points. What he says in the privacy of his own home, no matter how foul and disgusting it is not illegal. So
And that conversation probably shouldn't have been leaked. My thing is, he's done way worse stuff in the past.
And honestly, like, again, because what he's done right now actually isn't illegal, and he's probably on the right side of any law that could possibly exist to protect people who say things to people in public and then just have that turn into like a gigantic spiel. He's probably on the right side of whatever that is. But if you actually look at any of the media articles about this whole controversy right now, people aren't even really going after him about the recording. They're going after him for being an allegedly supremely foul human being.
Yeah.
And a lot of them
well,
are
as far
just,
as I know, he is. I'm not entirely sure, but
just digging up a ton of the history and kind of going, you know what? This is just the cherry on top that we needed to catalyze what's going on right now. Because you're, like, the recording, like, again...
I don't like the fact that someone published a private recording.
I don't like that.
But then, from what I've read, he does seem like an extremely foul human being.
And
that doesn't mean it's okay.
I don't like someone saying to someone, I don't want you bringing a person of that ethnic persuasion
No, I don't
into
want that
my
being
building.
said either.
That is horrendous.
Yes.
But
I also don't want
that's
that.
Even though it's wrong, it's not illegal. What happened?
Is it?
You're it's not illegal to tell someone in private that, like, if I give you tickets to a play and I'm like, look, I don't want you bringing
Well, say it correctly so this doesn't get taken out of context.
yeah, I don't want you bringing a white person. There, that's probably the safest thing I can say. Don't bring any white people. I'm allowed to say that. It's not illegal.
Because
Okay, as your employer, I probably can't say that. But let's say it wasn't
no,
me.
yeah, you know, I disconnected that. Yeah. I still don't know.
And you could make the argument, based
I've
on
never
how
looked
old
into
he
anything.
is and the kind of relationship they probably had, he might have been her employer. So maybe it was wrong. But that's a whole other ball of wax. Anyway, I don't remember where I was going with this. Anyway, that's happening. The whole...
VGA rating. VGAgrader.com.
Oh, okay.
I'm jumping back to this because I don't want to talk about racist old guys anymore. But yeah, see, they put it in this jewel
You
case.
point at your screen,
I
but
know
they can't.
see it, but I'm trying to show you really quickly. They put it in a jewel case and they stamp a rating on it. It costs like $100.
So it's basically
VG.
GIA, except for games. VGA rating?
VGG
VGGrating.com?
Raider. VGG Raider.
So VG rating?
Yeah.
Okay.
Raider.
Oh. Bing is so useless. Okay, here. Oh, good. They're screen sharing with me already.
Yeah.
So VGGrating.com brings up G Detox Plus Herbal Capsule. Okay. So...
VGG Raider.
Google. No, I'm going to try searching for that. I'm going to see if Google manages to bring up what I'm actually looking for.
Yep.
It's like, you know what? I give Bing a chance. Time and time again. Give Bing a chance.
Did you use Windows Update to download the Bing desktop and Bing toolbar?
No.
That's so frustrating.
No, I didn't.
I'm actually looking for Windows upgrades.
I keep giving Bing a chance. And, like, okay, I don't use Google because I'm married to Google and love Google.
Yeah.
My love for Google, skin deep.
It works.
It's a working relationship.
I tried to go to DuckDuckGo, and then I was like, this doesn't really work that way.
Me and Google, we do our best here. And we fight through the problems, okay?
But you stay together.
But we stay together, man.
Yeah.
Bing, because it's the default on Internet Explorer, and I reinstall operating systems so often, I often am lazy about installing my alternate browsers, and I'll use IE, and the default will be Bing for a while. And the only time I actually turn around and, like, get off my lazy butt and install my alternate browsers that I'll use Google as a default is when Bing just can't find anything.
When it does something like that.
When it does something like this. Look at those Bing results, okay? Office of Quality of Performance, SSA.gov? Some patent for flame laminate polyether urethane? I mean, they're not even close. Genetics, diamondring.com.
And like, what did this...
Does that say fellatio book?
What?
Oh, Teleco book. Sorry.
How did you possibly... I'm not...
They have books about
No.
that. Anyway.
They have an idiot's guide?
VGgrader.com. So Google managed to find it. Bing did not, and that is incredibly disappointing. Anyway, why don't we actually get on to our next topic here? So From Android Authority, the Nexus program retiring next year, Android Silver allegedly to take its place. So what Android Silver is going to be is a bit of a mishmash of the Nexus program. So Nexus, the idea was they support the phone with software for 2 years, correct?
I don't think there was a cap on it.
I believe there was.
Really?
There was a guarantee. So,
yeah, I think there's a minimum, not a cap.
Let us know in the chat if you guys can remember how long Nexus devices get. So anyway, so a Nexus device has to be this. It has to be at an aggressive price. It has to be from a well-established manufacturer, and it has to be stock vanilla Android. Then, on the other side, we've got Google Play Edition devices. So we saw this with the HTC One, the Galaxy S4, and we've seen it again with the HTC One M8 and the Galaxy S5. But what's interesting to me about Silver is that I really think it takes the best of both worlds. Because right now, you've got those Play Edition devices, which for the HTC One M8, for example, the one that I think people should be buying if they're buying a Play Edition device, the HTC One M8, it's extremely expensive. If Silver could take the concept of Play Edition, that is to say, and what's cool about the Play Edition phones that are coming out now is how they come with basically stock Android, but all of those cool vendor-created customizations that can be added within a special subset of the Play Store. So I love that approach. I think that's great. But if that could meet Nexus halfway and be implemented instead of only on flagship devices that you have to pay full pop out of pocket for, I forget where that sentence started. If that could be, instead of on just flagship devices that you have to pay full pop for, if we could see that on mid-range devices or, and this is the other big bomb, carrier subsidized devices, I think that's an incredibly positive thing because the cold hard truth, and phone enthusiasts, get over yourself. Not everyone buys a phone outright. Some people lock into a contract because, quite frankly, who cares? You're gonna pay your carrier anyway.
Yeah.
It's not like you get a
even
huge
with
discount.
With a lot of carriers, even if you say no to the phone, they make you lock into a contract anyways.
At least here in Canada.
Yeah. I don't know elsewhere, but... Yeah.
So, especially the tier 1 carriers. A lot of the, like, tier 2 carriers, you can just do, like, basically pay as you go.
Yeah.
But you're gonna pay for a phone contract anyway, so who cares? Not everyone upgrades their phone every year. Not everyone roots their device. So for some people, being able to get a high-end device for $199 on contract with a phone plan that they're going to buy anyway is great. So if we can have Android Silver fill that gap by giving us more mid-range devices that deliver a basically stock Google experience, where this is not quite like the Google Play Edition one. So the idea is that a Silver device will come with the customizations off it, but you can remove basically all of them.
Yeah.
As opposed to coming without them, but you can add them.
I'm fully okay with that.
What a fantastic middle ground.
Yeah.
Silver sounds amazing.
And one thing I really like is that, I think you kind of already said this, but the subsidizing. Google's going to subsidize it and help make it cheap because I'm in a weird position right now where...
Well, the rumor is Google may subsidize the phones.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a natural thing. So, rumor.
I think this is all rumor so far.
Right. Okay, yeah. I'm in a weird spot because I'm done my contract, but just sitting... still paying the contract.
Your carrier is a bunch of terrible people as well. I'm not going to name anyone.
Really bad. So I'm looking to switch, but then there's possibly new plans coming out, so I don't want to switch right now. So I can't get a subsidized phone in that way. I don't have a phone right now. I don't want to buy one, because if I bought one, then I'm going to probably buy an Nexus 5. But then why wouldn't I wait for OnePlus 1, which is coming out soon?
Which might be good, but
who knows?
They're an unproven manufacturer at this point.
So I'm in a really weird spot. So I'm happy to see things that might make
Speaking of
my
really
life
weird
easier.
spots, you just said you don't have a phone, but I think you do. Show us your phone.
Okay. So, I don't even want to show it. So this is Linus's old iPhone 4.
So
which
Luke,
I don't even have working yet.
Luke was like, oh, hey, yo, dog, could I borrow the Moto X? And I was like, I might switch to the Moto X at some point. Plus, it's got a nano SIM, and you have a micro SIM.
That's easy to fix.
But And you know what, guys? Okay, Twitch chat, back me up on this, because what I've heard is that cutting down from micro to nano, there's actually a lot more room for error than there is cutting down from full-size sim to micro, for example, because the plastic is so close to the contact. So I didn't recommend that he do that, especially because his terrible carrier charges him $10 for a new sim.
Yeah.
Whereas mine, I walked into the store, I was like, yo, I got a new phone. They're like, yo, you need a new sim? Let me set that up for you.
His carrier's the one that I'm trying to move to. I'm just waiting for new plans.
And they didn't even set up your new sim for you.
Nope.
You had to like call, right? So
yeah, because on the website when I tried to set it up for myself, it was a locked off portal. It was like, you do not have permission to do this. I was like, why is the button even there if it's if I can't do it?
Whereas my carrier, it's like, here are the two phones, and they like take the SIM out for me, put it in the other phone, they make all the calls, then like he hands it back to me, he's like, oh, hold on, what's your number? And he does like a test call from his own cell phone to make sure it's working. I'm like, yo man,
This
you're
is
cool.
awesome. Yeah.
You're cool. As much as I hate giving you all of my money, at least you're trying to make me not feel terrible
about it. If they make the
it.
experience not horrible, I'd be happier paying the same amount that I'm going to pay someone else to them, because I'm paying my carrier, whoever they are,
I hate your carrier.
the same amount that you would be if you were on
everything
my
about
plan.
your carrier.
My 500 megabyte data every month. Ball in.
Oh, people are asking. I'm on Bell. So Bell Canada, from my experience, has been one of the two lesser of all of the evils. And I used to be on Rogers, and they weren't bad either. So I think that leaves one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
people can probably figure it out now.
So for the first time ever, Luke is going to be using an iPhone.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Until he de-cheapifies enough to buy a phone.
Yeah.
And that is going to be an interesting experience. And you know what? It's funny because the timing is going to be really good, because I recently switched back to iOS. I've been using an iPhone 5S for the last,
But you're happy about it.
week and a half?
I don't even,
Something
like,
that,
I can't
couple
do
weeks.
anything.
I know,
with
but
this
it's
thing.
a learning experience. Okay, so no,
Yeah.
hold on. This is important for you. I switched back to the iPhone 5S, not because I'm unhappy with the one M8. I've seen a couple people notice that I pulled out a 5S in the middle of my videos. I love the one M8. Fantastic phone. I switched back to the 5S because I think the upcoming iPhone 6 is going to be absolutely groundbreaking.
Why does pressing the little button not turn the screen on? Oh, it did.
It's
What?
glitchy. It's broken.
Oh.
Yeah, you gotta press it pretty hard.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Should have told you that. So I think the upcoming iPhone 6, with its larger screen size, is going to be groundbreaking. Not because a larger screen is innovative, but because Apple's going to have to make some serious changes to iOS in order to make a larger screen size work. Just little things, like for example, within apps, the standard placement for back is at the very top left corner of the screen, which I think for people who have normal sized hands isn't a problem right now. But when you go and throw that design onto a much larger phone, they're going to start having the same problem people like me with little hands have, where in order to go back within an app, you're going to have to shift your grip on your phone, and people are going to drop a lot of iPhones unless they change that design. So I wanted to refresh myself on iOS again before I jump into the iPhone 6. And it's also been exactly a year. When I did my HTC One M8 review, was basically 1 year from when I switched to Android. So I wanted to go back for a refresher and see how iOS has evolved in the last little while. So it was for a reason that I was doing that. And so this, I think, is important for you to actually get some perspective on the other side, because